Are you interested in starting your own cash PT practice? Maybe a little side hustle practice right now because you're bored with what you do at work and you're seeing massive volumes of patients. I found the most success by going this route through a practice in a gym. And this is why I started the Gym PT Blueprint. The Gym PT Blueprint is really a program that shows you exactly how to be successful in the cash model, whether it's a side practice or you're diving head first like I did. This shows you exactly how to set your finances up correctly, how to set your practice up correctly, how to sell things, how to market yourself, and how to really convey your unique value to other people so that they'll want to pay you for it. If you are struggling to figure out how to set your practice up correctly, or if you're in practice and you're not making at least 5 figures a month at this point, you really should check out the Gym PT Blueprint. Head over to drdannymatta.com/products. That's DRDANNYMATTA.com/products to take a look at the Gym PT Blueprint and see how this program can help you become successful. So here's the question. How do physical therapists like us, who don't want to see 30 patients a day, who don't want to work home health, and have real student loans, create a career and life for ourselves that we've always dreamed about? This is the question, and this podcast is the answer. My name's Danny Matta, and welcome to the PT Entrepreneur Podcast.
So, first of all, thanks for sending that in, man. It was cool. Got like 60 or 70, I can't remember, gold challenge like PDFs. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I almost had it took me a long time to look through them, all of them. And so anyway, you got randomly picked, and I really liked yours, man. It's really well organized. And not only that, I think you have some there's some interesting elements to your practice. So why don't we do this? Why don't you tell me a little bit about your practice, like when it started, and like where you're at now in terms of what that goal challenge sheet is that you put together for me.
Yeah. So I was, I was sole prop started in February of 2015. Mm-hmm. And then about a year later, incorporated for an LLC, but I was still subletting out of a boutique fitness studio in the area, and was trying to figure out if the cash PT was going to be viable. Obviously, keep overhead low.
Yeah.
Have a location where people are already coming in the door, trying to add value to the gym, obviously, and that went pretty well. Figured out it was going to be sustainable, and then moved into a larger space in March.
Of this past year?
Of 2017, yeah.
Okay.
And so now, there's obviously more overhead and programs where I have the space to do things in terms of small group training, small group classes, junior golf classes, that type of stuff. I set up a kind of a swing studio, so I have an area for hitting, and then obviously just a lot of space for movement and more fitness related type stuff as well.
Yeah.
And so I will honestly say that, 2017 was not as planned out as what I have for 2018, other than I knew I was going to be looking to get into my own space and try to figure out if it was going to be scalable and focus on the golf niche a little bit more.
Now, so do you have other staff? Do you have administrative staff at all? Or so you're handling everything right now?
Right now, yeah. And so that's where in the 2018 plan, I didn't really have a very specific spot for that or didn't have that listed, but that would be the goal, would be to have, enough cash flow coming in that I feel really confident about adding. Administrative staff would be the first one for me. I definitely would want to go to administrative marketing type individual before I had any other PT or massage or anything like that.
Yeah. So this has in your breakdown, which is really good. So like, you have your quarters, and it looks like quarter 3, you look at that 120 visits a month as being sort of, you call it solo max and grounds for new hire. I agree. And so when when we get a PT to about 120 visits over the course, they sustain that for a couple months.
Yep.
Then we start looking to hire to start the process that first month when they're around there. So there's some time where you're just like busting your ass. I mean, that's the way it is in any business when you start, right? So the administrative piece, though, if you do that maybe a little bit earlier, what it will do is allow you to leverage yourself to actually see more people or do more of these small group classes. Yep. And it's just funny, like how much you become dependent on somebody like that. And initially you're like, how am I ever going to give them enough work to sustain, like to pay for the work that, the actual salary I'm paying them. Like I get this work back. Right. Yeah. But man, like once they get trained up, they're so just important. So that's probably something that you'll have to look at sooner than later. Who's that right person? Do they start part-time potentially? This is actually a good way to go about it. If maybe you only want somebody a couple days a week. Maybe Mondays are the days that you get the most calls. Yeah. Most businesses are like ours, Mondays and then Fridays or something like that. And I only want somebody that's going to work 2 days, and then you can start to give them some stuff. Maybe they work remotely part of that time too, or maybe they're in office 2 days. But you don't have to dive straight in and just say, I want a 40-hour a week, full-time admin person. You could get a part-time person with the assumption that you'd like for them to be full-time. And there's a lot of people that are looking for some flexibility like that. Sure. In terms of administrative skills, and it's really smart. So that could be a real bottleneck for you going forward. So that's something that you got to kind of sure up. But you have a couple different like programs and revenue streams and stuff like that. Of all of them, what would you say the most profitable one has been for you so far?
The profitable has been the one-on-one.
So the PT visits. Yeah,
just the one-on-one. I mean, and that's been the bread and butter in the first year and a half here or so of what I've done. So the online golf stuff, the small group classes with the golf stuff, even the even some of the corporate health stuff is stuff that I'm looking to branch into more of. I have some sampling of corporate health with police and fire locally.
Yeah.
So we've done some. I would call them. I'd call them case reports, or little 5, 10 group people where they've let us do some screening, do some interventions if necessary, and then rescreen and track that data. The bottleneck's always been, cost and price and making sure it's viable. And then with those being more government agencies, they don't operate like a private business where these things can, it took me a year and a half just to even get that five person, sample going that they would pay for it. So, but along that, I feel like there's some opportunity with creating some solutions for these places that you could do some online consulting and stuff like that for the police and fire, and trying to get earlier intervention for these people after an injury actually occurs. And even if it's not intervention from us, but guidance on the right place to be going.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that I find is, they're going to their company nurse or nurse practitioner, and no offense, but they have very limited musculoskeletal background, and that's what these people are really needing a lot of. And so they're still getting the take 4 weeks of ibuprofen and then come back and see me if it's not better or whatever it is. And that's unacceptable to me. There's a lot better solution than that. So
with your niche being golf, what percent of the people that you see currently have something to do with golf in general?
About 30%.
How big is the golf population where you're at?
It's large, but it's just not year round, obviously. So we have a very good golf community, a lot of golf courses, a couple country clubs, and then for our area, Appleton, Wisconsin is probably it's like the size of Green Bay. It's probably a little less than 100,000. But then there's all these surrounding communities that have golf courses, and you'd bump that number up a little bit higher in terms of population based on the reach that I could get with some of these programs.
Yeah.
But it's there's a lot of golf courses. There's not really anybody similar to me or us around here doing it. So it's also pretty novel to a lot of people. So it's kind of exciting in that regard that there's a large education piece that comes with it for people. But once you get them in the door and they realize that this is a thing, it's been pretty successful with the people that I've actually been able to reach.
Yeah, the golf niche is an interesting niche, right? I mean, primarily, this is going to sound sort of stereotypish, but it's primarily old, semi-wealthy, at least men, white men at that. I mean, like that's, like I grew up playing golf, since I was like 6 with my dad, and there's a ton of golfers around here in Atlanta, and it's definitely a viable niche, no doubt about it. Golf, tennis, any of those sort of country club-ish sort of sports, and then you get into like triathletes and CrossFit athletes, and these are all populations that have to have a bit of money to start that hobby to begin with.
Yeah.
And the thing with golfers too is if they can't play golf, they're miserable. Like it's such a social game too. You're out there with your friends and smoking a cigar and drinking a beer and stuff. So I think it's a great niche. It sounds like you have an issue similar to a couple of the guys that I work with in my mastermind group that are in Scottsdale, and they're sort of the opposite. So like in the winter, they get a ton of people that are there for part of the year, and then you guys should just get together and you could just share people back and forth because they're probably going to Scottsdale and then they go wherever you're at. Yeah. So when does that start? Like, and how have you noticed in terms of the seasonal change? Is your mix of people that are golf related versus other people, like how does that change?
It's funny because right now is actually my highest influx of people.
Really?
Yeah, because it's off season, and during season all they want to do is golf.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So unless it's rehab based, right? Unless somebody's actually having pain or they need rehab, then those people I'm working with during the season. But a lot of the more performance based and screening type stuff is happening now.
Interesting.
So it's actually interesting. I was just having this conversation with somebody last night where a lot of people are looking at like how, this isn't a year-round sport here. What are you doing with that? Well, for us, it's actually a positive thing because you have that off season, you have that time to focus on your body and actually pull back from golf. And I would argue for a lot of us that versus playing year round where you might have a lot more higher rate of injury and whatnot, it's a good thing. It's a good opportunity as long as you can frame it right. Yeah,
no, that makes total sense. Do you have any packages of any sort in place where you can actually work with people on more of a maintenance basis, or are you mainly looking at, hey, let's solve a problem and we'll kind of go one at a time and see how many we need?
Yeah, I do. So there's through the Titleist Performance Institute, there's kind of a gold standard screen that I do, which is physical screen, video analysis, and then I have a wireless 3D motion analysis for golf.
Oh, is that the K-Vest or whatever it's called? Right.
Yeah,
okay.
K-Vest. So I put all that together for the evaluation and then come up with a plan, and the plan is totally individual to what each individual needs. It's not cookie cutter at all. Some people that are going to do a package, I'll do session packages, so 5 session, 10 session.
Yeah.
Some people are not having pain and they just want some guidance, so it's more online based.
Now, do you have any anything that is a recurring charge every month that you've set up yet?
Not for the golf stuff.
What about for patients?
Yes, there are a couple people that are on more of a wellness package where they say sometimes we're doing rehab, sometimes we're doing performance stuff, and they say I'm going to utilize it. So we set that up. So I do have I have a contractor who's a strength and conditioning specialist he runs like a cycling class. It's kind of a BYOB type, bring your own bike and trainer class, and he does 3 a week, and then that's a recurring charge as well. But outside of that and a couple of the people, I don't do a lot of subscription type stuff now.
Do you think that, especially with the golf stuff, dude, it's such a good niche, and there's so much stuff you can work on in season. Hey, you're playing a lot of golf, man. Let's do some stuff to keep you healthy. Yeah. Off season, hey, let's add some yards to your drive. Like the number one driver for growth in business and consistency in revenue is recurring revenue. And anything that you can do to move people towards more of a recurring visit that is beneficial to them, right? We're not going to tell people that they need something they don't need, but there's just so many people that we can do such good things for on a continual basis. And this is probably the biggest mistake that I made in our business was not actually initially looking at ways to generate recurring revenue. And we have that now in a couple different ways, both with like monthly memberships, and then we have like a digital program that is very new. It's just the beginning of this year we started, but think of it this way. So how many new patients have you seen since you started your practice? Do you know?
It's been, I just did the math on that for you because I knew you'd ask stuff like this. So it's been here 9 months since I started in this location, or just in total?
Total, I
wouldn't be able to tell you specifically the number. Since I've been here in March,
yeah,
it's been 24.
So if it's excuse me, if you look at the total volume of people, so, and then you've been in practice for how long total?
About a year and a half.
Okay, so let's double that. So let's say 50 people, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so let's say that 20% of those people at the end of their rehab, let's say that at the end of their cycle with you, they hurt their back and they're good to go. Let's say 20% of those people are a good fit to come in and work with you on a recurring basis. And a lot of people are going to do this other places no matter what. Mm-hmm. Chiropractors, massage therapists, acupuncturists, personal trainers. A lot of people are going to do it no matter what. But let's say you kept just 20% of those folks. That's 10 people every month that you don't have to go find. Mm-hmm. That's rent. I mean, so when you look at this, like, you kind of have to take a step back and start to decide what are your most important numbers to track, right? So if you had to say, like, these are the 3 most important numbers that we track in our business right now, what would they be?
Expenses, number of people a month or a week, and then new people. So
when you look at new people, this is a great one, right? A key performance indicator of new visits sort of tells you a lot, but also where they're coming from. But when they're there, we have such a good opportunity to decide if certain people are the right fit to want to do some sort of continual work. And if you don't have something to offer them, you never know if they're actually going to want to take it or not. Right. And I mean, we have people now, I could not get rid of them if I wanted to. I just saw a lady the other day. She literally came back. She drives an hour to come and see me once a month. And she literally is like, you're not going to break up with me, right? Because I moved. I stopped seeing people at this one office so I could move only to Decatur. So it doubled her commute to come and see me. And at that point, she was like, wait, are you trying to break up with me? It was sort of odd. I was like, hey, if you want to come work with me, you can, but like, I'm not going to be at this office. And she's like, well, you can't break up with me because I like this. And so she comes and she asks me every time I see her. And, I look back, we've had over 1,000 people that we've seen since we started our practice. Man, what if we had started this initially and 20% of those people were coming every month in a recurring basis? Man, how much growth is there, right? So for you just have to have something in place, and you got to put a name on it. You got to have like specifics of why they would want to do it. Yep. But, you have a smaller population. Atlanta's 6 million people. Mm-hmm. Now, not all those people are going to come and see me, obviously, because no one's going to drive very far. If you have 100,000 people, that's a pretty good sized city. But the more people you can hold on to and the more that they can get long-term benefits, the more people they're going to send you to. So I would tell you that just has to be a big place. The other thing you're talking about is the digital stuff, which is inherently recurring in most cases. Yep. So of the two, though, let's put it this way. Where do you think, if you had to focus your efforts on one thing in 2018 to hit your revenue goals that you put in there, what do you think that one revenue stream would be that you, if you could beef it up, it would get you there?
What do I think will it be, or what would I prefer it to be?
Oh, okay. Let's answer both.
I'd like to grow the golf niche because my ultimate goal would be at a certain point to be able to sell the practice and go on tour and work on tour.
So that's what you have to drive towards, man. I mean, if that's your goal, if your goal is to be able to sell your business, there's the way you structure it has to be very specific, right? So I had an interesting call earlier this week with a guy from Hawaii that had been given the opportunity to buy the person whose practice he's working for to buy their practice. And it's an in-network practice. It's a real high Medicare, Medicaid practice. Like, he doesn't really like working with in particular Medicaid populations, but he felt like it may be a good opportunity. So I, said, all right, well, what's the guy want for it? And do you know what the numbers are associated with that? And he kind of gave me an idea of what their revenue was and what the guy wanted for it. And I was just like, dude, there's no way anybody would pay for that. Because, number one, it's all tied into his relationships. Yeah. There's no marketing in place whatsoever. There's no predictability in how people are coming in. And not only that, the guy hasn't even been paying himself a salary. So if somebody comes in to buy that business, they're not buying anything. They're just buying the employees that are basically making like net zero. Essentially, they're cash positive, but it's not like this guy's making any money off it. Yeah. So even more so for a reason for you to have to bring staff on, because if you want to, and you don't even need to sell it. You could honestly put it on autopilot.
Sure. I think maybe sell was the wrong choice of words.
Well, I see what you're saying. You want to free your time up, and right. and you could sell it for a big chunk of change all at once, or it could become almost like an annuity for you. I mean, businesses give us these opportunities to do that. So if that's the goal and you want to go on tour, so it sounds like you're already pretty dialed in with the golf stuff, correct? Mm-hmm. Are there like relationships you need to develop more there? Because I don't know how somebody gets on tour.
There are. It is, and it's interesting, Danny, because I mean that's the goal. But this is like my business, quite young, So yeah. I have a mentor, quote unquote, who works with a bunch of the top 50 guys on tour. Cool. I've went and been to a couple tournaments with him. We're shooting the breeze on maybe doing some educational stuff together, developing some courses.
Yeah.
Open-ended about where that relationship leads to, and right now I'm trying to do everything I can to provide value to him and not expect anything in return, because I know how that could come off to somebody like him, as I'm just trying to do anything I can to get on tour, basically. But I have young kids.
Yeah.
This is like a 10, 15 year goal. This isn't like necessarily a next year type goal either.
Perfect.
So that's where the business and developing these things you're talking about has to be in place first. And while I do that, I'd like to nurture this relationship with this mentor.
Yeah.
And continue to improve my skills in the golf niche. So that's the biggest relationship I have related to the tour. Outside of that, my other goal was that the digital stuff and the more global that type of stuff gets,
there
is some recognition from individuals on tour or junior players or gates. I mean, so trying to get out of this tiny towny area of Wisconsin to get a little bit more nationwide. Hopefully some of the digital products will help do that a little bit more and gain some more notoriety.
100%, man. I mean, there's no better way to get your message out now than digital and social media, because you're right. You could be wherever the hell you want, and as long as you have internet connection, you got an opportunity to do a podcast. You got an opportunity to do video content that targeted at the right people is beneficial. I mean, just look at like the guy I work for, like for Kelly Starrett, and he started, the first video he did on Mobility WOD was an 8-minute video of him talking about squatting, holding his iPhone pointed at his crotch. Like if you go back and watch the first one, dude, that's it. Yeah. But you know what? Like the content was really good. And what he was talking about was stuff that was relevant to a lot of CrossFit athletes at the time that many people did not have a lot of information on, so for you to start really honing in on, producing a lot of golf specific content, and then getting it out on a consistent basis, that's huge. I tell you, I think, there's a couple avenues to do that. I'm very biased because I've had a lot of success with reach with podcasts. Have you ever thought about doing that?
I've very, 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 very little on what's the app? It's the one app where you can make a podcast really quick. It's the new
yeah. What is the name of that? I just saw Gary Vaynerchuk saying something about that the other day.
You can't even do it for more. Anchor.
Anchor, that's it. Yeah.
So I've started with that just a little bit, and then what I've done is wrote a blog for the week or get a common question that seems to be coming up a lot with people. I'll just do a topic based off of that, but I've only put in like one or two of them. It's been very, very new.
Well, what do you feel more comfortable with, being on video, audio and talking to people, or typing up, fairly detailed blog posts?
I would probably say video.
Well, if that's the case, Instagram is probably your best platform for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you really can't beat that in terms of video stuff.
I feel strong about writing, but the I don't know who reads anymore.
Well, people have short attention spans, so it's not that they don't. It's just that they have to really like what you have to say in order to read the whole thing. Like, so we noticed that, especially with some of the social media stuff we do a lot of video, and those videos lead to a blog post, and those blog posts, the average watch time on the video is actually longer than the average read time on the blog post. And that's crazy. I would not have thought that was the case. Yeah. But it's true. But then there's certain people that will read the whole damn thing. And those people, you can, it's crazy how much you can track. You can track their course through your website, and they read the blog post, and then it's always the About Us page after that. And they're like, who are these people? Let me learn a bit more. And then it's over to the testimonials. And then, maybe they exit, or maybe they decide they want to leave a contact request form, and then they want to get in contact with us, and we chat with them about if they're a good fit. And, so like, that's kind of how it goes. What you're talking about is you could potentially get golf specific clientele for where you're at, and get that out in front of the right people via social media. And a video is what you feel the best with. Instagram, if you can be informative in a minute, and you can do that consistently, you can kill it, man. And although I will tell you, there's a few things that we've found create a lot more engagement and sharing on Instagram. And I'll tell you, if you go this route, you're going to want to make sure that you prioritize batching video content and do a video and put a video out a day. Okay. The thumbnail is incredibly important. Having some contrast in the thumbnail and explaining what the video is about. And then text is also really important, because the actual audio does not start automatically. They would have to actually click for it. So the engagement with those things makes a big difference. So if you're going to go that route and that's what you want to focus on, you have to do that. But you're going to build an audience. Let's say that's what you decide to do. Your target audience, especially where you're at, probably isn't going to be on Instagram. And so maybe it's Facebook is better, maybe potentially better platform overall for you, for the group that you're talking about. But then you have to have something to offer them. So if you want a digital product, like what are you thinking about trying to do? Some sort of recurring training program, a one-time 12-week program, some kind of what are you thinking about doing?
Yeah, so I started my first thought. I just put out a 1-month online kind of free training program, which is very basic, simple tips about being healthy, hitting the ball farther. Trying to see what sort of engagement I got from that, and even just in the last week, it's been really high conversion on the landing page. So it's
what numbers are you getting?
Over 50% on. I haven't had a lot of people to the page necessarily, but the people that have been there have opted in.
What kind of back end software are you using to do that?
So I have lead pages, which then goes to an automation from ActiveCampaign.
Okay. So all good stuff, man. And people listening to this, if we decide to put this podcast, those are two really good options. Okay. And you hear this all the time. People are like, I had a really good conversion rate on this, and people don't know what the fuck that is, right? So the fact that you're already that advanced is really good. Do you have anything to actually have a payment gateway? Can you do it through ActiveCampaign? Accept payment?
I think you can. Lead pages you can, but that lead pages is when you opt in. There's actually a paycheck box or whatever that you can put in.
Oh, that must be a new feature. Okay. Yeah,
there's a widget you can put in for they pay right when they get the info, right when they exchange their contact info.
Oh, okay, cool. Because that's going to be the other big piece for you is if you're building this funnel out, how do you accept payment for something digitally, and then deliver that? So whether it be you have some sort of password protected page or something like that, but you're the easiest thing to do to start with is a one-off product. Yeah. And you've sort of already done that. You did a month of that. What's the biggest issue you see with people that are golfers that you feel like you could positively affect?
Low back pain.
Okay. I would agree 100%.
And it's interesting. So my goal moving forward, because there's a lot of, at least it seems like online there's a lot of people focusing on the fitness and the hitting the ball farther for golf and movements to do and exercising to do. But I haven't seen a lot of individuals geared more towards the pain aspect and the pain, the pain that happens with golf. So my initial thoughts were to do like this pain to par golf performance type program, which would be broken down by body part or by, golf diagnosis or whatever it would be, and have each one of those be its own, kind of paid product. And it would take you through self-assessment. And then if you have XYZ with the self-assessment, here's maybe the protocol that you would follow to address it.
I think it's a great idea. I mean, what I do currently from a digital, like one-off product standpoint is it's the programs that got picked up through Mobility WOD about 6 months ago, I guess. I had been hosting them myself, and we were just it was through our local practice, and it's regional. Okay, so it's mainly for like functional fitness athletes. So just slightly different, but the same idea. There's one for lower back issues. There's one for like anterior knee issues. You see so much of that in the gym setting like that. Shoulder impingement, just like general shoulder issues. The last one. That's all we have right now. So there's 3 different ones. Those are the 3 kind of big things that we see in our practice. So low back, shoulder, and knee issues. So in golf, you could think, okay, cool. What are the biggest issues that I see? And then you can start to test those different things out. And the interesting thing with paid ads is, especially on Facebook, they've gotten so good at targeting people that will actually convert and buy something from you, that you don't really you don't have to have a huge presence in order for that to be successful. For you to make $1,000 a month, net $1,000 a month on a digital product, you could do that in a short period of time if the product is pretty good and you understand who your target audience is and you can get ad spend in front of them. It's basically as simple as this. So if your cost per click is less than the average spend per click to the site. So let's say I don't know, 100 people came to your site, this initial funnel page, and 10 people bought a $100 product. Okay, so you'll make $1,000 gross off of that, right? Now let's say you were using Facebook to drive traffic, and you're paying $2 a click to get them to that site, and we know you're going to convert 10 out of 100, right? So you're going to pay $200 to get 100 people to that site, but you're going to make $1,000 off of it. So that's a 5 to 1.
Yep.
You take it all day. What if you went to a casino and you gave somebody $1, they gave you $5 back? You would never leave, right? Now it doesn't scale up infinitely, but that's the example that I'm kind of referencing. And you have to look at what's the product, is conversion rate, like all this stuff. It changes, and you sort of have to dial it in. But you could do that in a short-ish period of time. Within a couple of months, you can have a product put together and start testing that stuff out.
Sure.
And what's the saying? The first pancake is always shit. Like, that's the truth. The first digital product that I made, I hope nobody ever sees it.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing. It sucked.
Yeah.
Man, I thought it was awesome at the time. It was terrible. But I learned a lot about like what I should do, shouldn't do. And for what you're talking about in terms of being able to free your schedule up to be able to go on tour, I don't think there's a better route aside from setting your practice up to where somebody else can run it and you can have some profitability there. Because you can do that from anywhere. You can make videos from anywhere, and your kids could come with you on tour. That'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah. I got to talk the wife into that one a little bit more, but that's kind of my thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true, man. I mean, yeah, it depends. She's going to need to be there. You can't do it all by herself. She used to teach, and she's not liking my nudge for her getting back into the homeschooling idea type. Yeah, man. You guys just buy a big RV. I have a friend that just did this. He actually has like it's a really interesting, or sort of an interesting story. He was a heroin addict and ended up going to jail because he'd broken into the house and he was like trying to steal shit so he could buy more heroin, right? So he goes to jail, gets cleaned up, and when he gets out, he realizes like he can't get a job and he can't get anything because he's terrible credit. So he couldn't even like get furniture. He had to go like rent furniture, and he realized it was really hard. That process was really hard. So he actually started a company that's like high risk lending to people getting out of jail for furniture. Like, how niche is that, right?
Yeah.
It's a multi-million-dollar company now, and he put it sort of on autopilot, and he has 3 kids, and he bought an RV, and he's like in the process of hitting all these national parks in the U.S., and his wife is homeschooling them.
Yeah.
So that could be you guys minus the whole heroin deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Skip that part.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I think that's great. So, okay. So what areas of putting a product together do you feel like you're not very sound on, like a digital product?
I need a platform that is probably easy to use, given my tech experience in online education, I guess. I mean, I've heard of Thinkific. I don't know what else is out there.
I use them initially. Okay. Actually, that's the first platform I use. They're okay. I'm a huge fan of ClickFunnels. I'll be honest with you. I think ClickFunnels is great. You could consolidate your lead pages account with ClickFunnels. And in fact, if you decide to do it, I'll send you an email. I actually have I have an affiliate link, but I can share a funnel with you. So we have a funnel that we used for Doc and Jock for a program that was for a lower back program. Okay. And basically it's a funnel it's an opt-in page followed by a one-time offer after that, and then a thank you page. So you could do that. We can get into the complexities of all this stuff where you can have, like, let's say the program you have right now is a 1 month training program. Okay, and that's your opt-in. You drive people there, they opt into it. 50% conversion. Those people then go to a page that is a one-time offer for some other product that you have that's complementary to that, right? So maybe it's, whatever, some sort of like flexibility guide for golf or something like that. And it's sort of a low price point between, maybe like $5 and $40, somewhere in that range. Sure. And it's called Tripwire offer, which is a one-time offer right after an opt-in. But what that does is it gives you the opportunity to get your ad spend paid for, and then they can go through an automated sequence where then you can offer them your actual product that you're hoping that they buy that is at a higher price point. Yeah. But you can do all of that in ClickFunnels, or you can take ClickFunnels and then link up a like a MailChimp account, or ConvertKit is really good for email as well. I really like that. But
if ClickFunnels, is that compatible with ActiveCampaign?
So ClickFunnels is, and you can actually, there's different variations to it. So there's like the low price point one, which is, it's like under $100 a month, and it does all the like lead generation stuff. And you can, but you can accept payment directly in there through a Stripe account, and you can actually set up courses. So the Gym PT Blueprint course that I have, that is all in ClickFunnels. So, okay. And I am not a tech savvy individual. Like, I'm a computer dummy. Yep. And I did all, I can set all that stuff up. It's fairly easy to use, but it is, so you could link it to ActiveCampaign and say, on this landing page, if somebody inputs their information, then it goes to this sequence in ActiveCampaign. Okay. Or the upgraded version of it actually has its own drip campaign. Like, it basically it would be that ActiveCampaign is basically would become part of it, and you'd have like affiliate options and stuff like that. It gets pretty complex, but okay. I don't think you need that. Yeah. But that could solve a lot of your logistical issues on the front end. And then if you could have lower back issues for golf. So like, here's a 12-week program. You could say you want it all to be released at once. They have access to all these videos and PDFs and stuff, or you could do a drip campaign, which is basically they would get like week 1 and then week 2 and week, all the way through 12. You decide what you want to do, but
that's kind of how my 1 month program is set up, as more of a drip.
It is, okay. Yeah, I sort of like that because people get overwhelmed, sometimes when they're like, oh my God, 12 weeks, I can't do that. I can commit to 1 week, and then I feel good, I'm going to do the second week. But sort of by that point, they've already paid for it, so they're kind of pot committed. But have you tested driving some traffic to any of these landing pages, like paid traffic?
Not too much.
So by not too much, what do you mean you've done?
Like a Facebook ad.
So, like, what variation of a Facebook ad have you done?
So I've put, let's see, I have like a low back, seven secrets to relieve low back pain. I have some of that stuff I've put out through Facebook ads and
Now, this is for your local practice or for your golf specific stuff you're trying to do?
Yep.
Have you done anything for the golf stuff?
Other than the free month, I have not. I had a 5 kind of like an ebook again that was five ways to increase your driving distance, which I did 1 or 2 Facebook ads for. Certainly didn't seem like the response was as good as this 1 month program, but at the same time, I haven't given it enough of a chance or a sample size. It's been one off there and probably haven't seen it through enough.
I like the idea of a 1 month program. Challenges are also really good. So we did this 7-day movement challenge with Doc and Jock. It's actually the highest converting thing we've ever done for our list building. Okay. It was 70% of people opted into this thing. And think about the goal setting challenge we did. That actually had a prize. This is it. We get a chance to do a strategy call. But when we did that 7-day challenge, people are usually okay to take a challenge for 7 days. When it's 30 days, nobody fucking does it.
Yeah.
They're like, no, dude, that's too much, man. Committing too much. So, but 7 days, you could do some sort of 7-day golf, mobility challenge. The reality is, think about how many mobility issues you see in some of these golfers. They're tight in many cases. They don't move too well. So anyway, you could do something like that or whatever variation of a challenge you want and then put that out. But it's sort of hard to say what's going to work because you don't know until you test it and then you measure it. So that's what's really important. What's your conversion rate? Okay. Of those people, how many of those people are paid versus organic? And then, what's your cost per acquisition of a person for your list? Then how many people do I need? And this is my average for sales. And then you can start to figure out if it's profitable. So I think you've got a couple things you just need to test out. But Facebook ads is probably going to be your best bet because of the age group of your demographic.
Yeah. I have, the other thing too is email list has worked well for that demographic. Last year I went to a local golf expo and found a way at the expo to collect a boatload of leads or emails anyway. And gone back to that email list and then put out some of these products on there. And that's been, pretty effective way too, is that 40 to 60-year-old male. They're still reading emails at least. Even Facebook's been a little tough to connect with them, it seems. But the email, trying to find ways to continue to just get the email leads is a good way with that group, it seems.
Well, have you tried doing any specific video content that's similar to what you're interested in developing a course on, and then paying to put that in front of the people that you think may be a good fit?
I have not.
So there's a couple things that may be really interesting about that. Number one, Facebook organically pushes video more. They want more video. They hate YouTube because it's owned by Google, and they don't like each other. And they want their video platform to be more searchable. It's very similar to YouTube, right? So you'll notice if you put this on your clinic page, if you put a picture up with a hyperlink to something, and then a video up with the same hyperlink to something, that video will reach a ton more people because Facebook algorithm is allowing it to go to more people. Yeah. So what you could do is, before you even create a product, you could actually make a couple different videos and then create some demographics that you want to drive traffic to and see what gets the most amount of engagement, because there's a couple really cool things about this that could be beneficial for you. Number one, it's a cheap way to beta test something before you make a product, because that can take a long time. And if you guess wrong, like the first product that I made, it took me months to put together and 2 people bought it, that sucks.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily do that, right? No. But let's say you make some videos on the top 3 ways to keep lower back health in golfers, or maintain lower back health in golfers, something like that. And you go through 3 videos, you get somebody to video you and another person, and it's sort of interactive, and it's a pretty good video. Mm-hmm. Then you can say, okay, well, I know that the average person that would probably buy this would be between 40 and 60. They like golf. They follow, the Golf Channel's Facebook page and whoever else that you think would be a good fit. And then, they make more than a certain amount of money. They're interested in, you can do it super detailed. And then you can have an audience size of between, it depends on the area, but anywhere between 20,000 and 500,000 people, probably maybe more than that if you do it internationally, that are interested in those things. And then you put that video in front of them, and then you see what happens. And if it takes off, then you can continue to put ad spend behind it. And what's really cool about that is Facebook tracks who watches your videos and how much of it they actually watch.
Mm-hmm.
So you could say, okay, I've had this video up now for a month, and I've got 20,000 views on it, 20,000 3-second views. I only want to retarget people that have watched half of this video. So they have to have watched at least 50% of this video. And maybe that's 1,000 people.
Yep.
That's 1,000 people that you can now put your landing page ad in front of and say, hey, take our 7-day whatever challenge. And those are people that already know who you are. So they're warm traffic now. They're not cold traffic. So your conversion rate should be even better. Cost per conversion should be even better because they already know who you are, versus just like they'll just glance over it in their feed and they won't even pay attention to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think that's probably a good place for you to start testing some stuff out. I'm interested to see how that works, man. I think it's a really viable niche, especially for a digital product.
Mm-hmm.
Think about how many are already out there.
Yeah.
Are there any that you really like? Are there any that you're like, man, I think these guys are doing a really good job?
There's a couple. I don't know how much they've pushed the digital products, though.
Well, what are they doing?
It's more, they're just golf-specific physical therapy, practices in different locations. So there's obviously Arizona's one of them, and then Carolina's one, but I haven't seen as much on the digital side of them actually offering paid-for programs or something like that.
Does TPI do anything digitally like that, or are they primarily educating other clinicians? And
it's all in-person education. I mean, they'll put out content and educational stuff all the time, but they have their different tracks for the medical and fitness professionals. Some of the courses are online, but they're that's all the educational courses that the actual practitioners or the fitness professionals are taking. It's not for the general public to pay and learn from, so to speak.
So what digital what digital page or platform would like a golfer that you would be interested in working with go to learn more about how to improve their swing, or I don't know, corrective exercises that they might be talking about? Is it the Golf Channel?
The TPI has some of that free content on there. They have an exercise list and whatnot. Golf Channel
for golfers, or is it targeted towards coaches?
No, they have some stuff for golfers as well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So here's another thing you can do. Go on their platform, look up the exercises that they're talking about, and see which ones are the most popular. You on a blog post, you should be able to see how many times something's been shared on Facebook, or how many likes it has on Facebook, and or you may be able to see how many views it has if it's in their Facebook page or on their YouTube channel.
Yep.
And start to see, like, okay, what are people actually really interested in? Because now that gives you a really kind of defined idea as to what you should probably talk about. And this is a strategy that is called modeling. So, like, think of somebody that you think has a bigger platform than you. Take a look at the things that they're talking about that other people have already expressed interest in, and then decide on the direction that you want to test to see, what you can talk about that would be engaging. And it's not always a home run the first time you do it. Sometimes you're like, damn, I thought that was going to be awesome, and I got nothing. The best video we've ever put up is, like, I thought for sure, I was like, this video is going to bomb. Like, the lighting is terrible. It was 6 o'clock in the morning. It was dark. The office was dark, and it wasn't a good video. But for whatever reason, the content, people really like the content, and that video has like 120,000 views on it. We just keep it up because people keep sharing it. And I was totally wrong. And then something you think are awesome, nobody ever does anything with them. So I'm really interested to see how you do with this. So, okay, action items wise for you at this point, it sounds like we could talk about the cash practice stuff for another hour, right? And talk about some of this. But if you get good at this, you can apply the same concepts to your local business.
Yeah.
If you can get good at creating video content that's engaging and getting in front of the right people and driving business your way, you can do the same thing for your PT business.
Sure.
So it sounds like you got to do some content.
Yeah. Can I back up to a question on the recurring revenue?
Yeah.
So I do have a couple people right at the top of my mind that you mentioned where you're not gonna break up with me, are you? Type situation.
Yeah.
So they're currently in a situation where they're basically paying as they go, or paying per service.
Mm-hmm.
How do you figure out, or what's a good way to figure out that recurring charge rate?
Yeah, so we do it's basically a excuse me, a slight discount. The only times we ever discount anything are if somebody buys a package that's discounted.
Yep.
And if it's recurring, and it's auto charges. So we do, it's about 10% decrease in the cost of the session.
Okay.
That's applied to the recurring session, and it just gets billed once a month. And the assumption is, all right, cool. You're gonna come in. We're gonna do that. They get access to some digital stuff that we have too. That's kind of part of it, like a digital generalized program that we have. But that's big for us, man. And our goal is really we want to see those averages work out. We want if we have, let's say we had 10 new patients in a month, we want half of those people to commit to a package, initial visit. It's not appropriate for everybody, but about 50% of the people that we do have, it is, and that's a marker. That's a marker of our of sales and how good of a job our staff is doing with expressing their value to somebody.
Yep.
We want to see about 20% of the people that we've worked with then move on to some variation of recurring visit, because that's what we found to be about the number of people that are interested and a good fit for it. And again, not everybody is. If I see somebody for an ankle sprain in basketball and they're 28 years old, and we may see them twice, and that's it. And we're just like, okay, cool, man. This may not be the right fit for you. But if I see a 50-year-old triathlete, it's got a history of like multiple surgeries, and he's an attorney who sits all day, and like, dude, you'll be back in here, and it'll probably be for another injury. So you may be a good fit to actually do some stuff with us to stop some of that stuff from happening.
Sure.
You got to kind of figure out who they are.
And then you let make a team decision about how many visits a month that's going to be for them based on just where they're at, or do you usually standardize it?
When they're new?
No, for the recurring charge. Like once you're kind of at that graduation phase and you're going to say, let's think about a recurring rate. I mean, do you just kind of based on their situation say it's going to be once a month, twice a month?
Yep. So the options we have now are, we have like a quarterly. So it's sort of like a more of a screening option. So we do like movement and mobility assessments that are spaced out, and then we do a once a month membership. Is at this point all we have. If they need to come in more than that, then it's at the same rate that the monthly membership is at.
Okay.
But it's just once a month, and it's up to our providers to say, you know what, I think this person would be appropriate, and we talk about who they are and what that looks like. And you'd be surprised, man. A lot of people actually express interest in that more frequently than you would think. And when I was in the Army, it was like, we want to get ready as fast as we can. Like, we don't have enough providers anyway. I can't even get somebody in for like a month, Like, we're understaffed as hell. And half the time we get people to come in and they're like, they just notice that we do something different. And they're like, well, how often should I come back and see you? Like, can I come in like once a month if I just kind of want to, get you to take a look at my programming? And we do a lot of like strength conditioning stuff.
Yeah.
And so that idea was actually just people asking us, and we realized, well, shit, more people are asking us this. We better have something to offer them.
Yeah.
So, but it's big, and especially for you developing some recurring revenue and the digital stuff. If you're trying to free up your time to be able to then go on tour, those are two areas where, you could definitely do that. And then be able to do the other stuff that you like and get paid for that too.
Yep. All right.
It's cool, man. I'm excited for you. This is great.
Yeah. Really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you doing the challenge. I'm glad I got a chance to talk. I'm interested. You have a great little niche. It's cool. I'd be really excited to see how things are in the next 6 to 12 months, in particular with the digital stuff. Shoot me an email. Keep me in the loop if you have any questions on that. I think it's such a viable option for so many people that they don't even realize. And the cool thing with digital stuff is that the profit margins are flipped. In the brick and mortar business, 15, 25% profit margin, you're like killing it.
Yeah.
In a digital business, 75, 85% profit margin, totally doable.
Yeah.
So you can make a lot less and keep a lot more.
Yep.
Cool. All right, man.
All right. Well, I'll take some action steps on this. I'll send you a follow-up email. What I'm going to probably big 3 items, takeaway items from this.